Welcome back. Please like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're discussing some massive news from the White House regarding international trade and human rights.
That's right. President Trump recently announced a major shift in policy. He is imposing a 25% tariff on any country that continues to do business with Iran.
Wow, 25%? That's a huge number. For our listeners who might not know, a tariff is basically a tax on goods coming into a country. So President Trump is saying if a country trades with Iran, they have to pay a big tax to trade with the U.S. too.
Exactly. He made the announcement on Truth Social, stating that this applies to any and all business done with America. He's using the power of the U.S. economy to completely isolate the Iranian government.
And this is all happening because of the situation in Iran, right? The nationwide protests?
Right. There has been a lot of civil unrest there. President Trump said this move is meant to support the protesters. He even posted a message directly to the people in Iran, telling them to keep going and saying help is on its way.
That's a very strong message. It sounds like a real shift toward supporting a change in their government. I read that human rights monitors are reporting that over 2,000 people have been killed in the crackdown by security forces.
It's a tragic situation. That's actually why President Trump decided to cancel all planned meetings with Iranian officials. He wants to show that the U.S. will not ignore these human rights abuses.
But Alex, this must have a huge impact on other countries too. What about major trading partners like China or the United Arab Emirates?
You hit the nail on the head. Both of those countries do billions of dollars in trade with Iran. Now they have to choose. Do they keep trading with Iran, or do they keep their access to the American market?
It's a tough spot for them. Some people say this is the only way to stop the funding of terrorism, but others worry it might cause global instability.
Definitely. It's a bold strategy. We'll have to see how these other countries react in the coming weeks.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
Welcome to the Daily Pulse. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we are talking about some major news from the White House that could really affect your wallet.
That's right, Jamie. President Trump has just proposed a one-year emergency cap on credit card interest rates. He wants to set the limit at a maximum of 10%.
Wow, only 10%? That sounds like a huge relief for a lot of people. I mean, I know interest rates have been really high lately, right?
Exactly. According to the Federal Reserve, the average rate reached about 22.3%. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, we have some absolutely shocking news from the world of technology. Imagine your iPhone getting a massive brain transplant.
Haha, that's a great way to put it, Alex. We're talking about the huge new announcement from Apple. It looks like they're finally making a big move into the world of artificial intelligence.
Right. On Tuesday, Apple announced a landmark partnership with Google. They are going to integrate Google's Gemini AI models directly into the Apple ecosystem.
Wow, Google and Apple working together? You know, that's a huge shift. For years, Apple has kept everything inside its own walled garden, meaning they usually prefer to do everything themselves.
Exactly. But this multi-year collaboration confirms that the next generation of Apple technology will be powered by Google's advanced generative AI. The main goal here is to create a much more personalized and capable Siri.
Finally! Sometimes it feels like Siri hasn't changed in years. Apple says this will be part of their new Apple Intelligence Suite, which should roll out later this year. But Alex, what about privacy?
That's the big question. Apple is famous for protecting user data. They emphasized that even with Google's help, they are using a standard called private cloud compute. This ensures that your sensitive information stays on your device or on very secure encrypted servers.
That's a relief for many users. It's also a massive win for Google, right? They basically just became the primary engine for the world's most popular mobile operating system.
Precisely. It helps Apple close the gap with big competitors like Microsoft and OpenAI. However, it's not all smooth sailing. This deal is likely to face a lot of scrutiny from the government.
You mean the antitrust regulators?
Exactly. They worry about big tech having too much power. In fact, President Trump and his administration are already keeping a very close eye on these types of massive partnerships. President Trump has often mentioned the importance of keeping the AI market competitive and fair for everyone.
It will be very interesting to see if the regulators or President Trump's team step in to change the terms of this deal.
Definitely. But for now, get ready, because your iPhone is about to get a whole lot smarter.
I can't wait. Thanks for joining us for this tech update, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we're talking about a news story that brings a lot of hope to millions of families around the world.
It really does, Alex. We are looking at a major breakthrough in medicine. The American Cancer Society just released their 2026 report, and the news is truly historic.
Exactly. For the first time ever, the 5-year survival rate for all types of cancer combined has reached 70%. That is a huge milestone.
Wow, 70%? That is a massive jump from where we were just a few decades ago. You know, it makes me wonder, how did we finally get here? What changed?
Well, it's a combination of a few things. First, experts are pointing to something called liquid biopsies. It sounds complicated, but it's actually just a simple blood test that can find cancer before a person even feels sick.
Right, and as we always hear, catching it early is the most important part. I also read that mRNA vaccines and immunotherapy are making a big difference.
Exactly. These treatments are helping people with very serious cases, like late-stage lung cancer, live much longer. It's really transforming the outlook for patients who previously had very few options.
It's also interesting to see how government policy plays a role. The report mentions that this progress was supported by the current administration's approach.
That's right. Medical professionals are noting that President Trump's focus on deregulation and medical innovation has been a crucial driver. By cutting through the red tape, new treatments have been able to reach hospitals and patients much faster than before.
That makes a lot of sense. If the medicine gets to the people faster, more lives are saved. But Alex, I noticed the report also says there will be over 2 million new cases this year. If we are doing so well, why is that number so high?
That's a great question. Part of it is because our population is aging, but also because our diagnostic tools are so much better now. We are catching many more cases that might have been missed in the past.
I see. So we are finding more, but we are also treating them better.
Exactly. There is still work to do, especially regarding equal access to care, but a 70% survival rate is a reason to celebrate.
Definitely. It's a giant step forward. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
See you next time. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our daily news podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're discussing a story that sounds like it's straight out of a history book, but it's actually happening right now in Washington, D.C.
That's right. Imagine looking at a map of the United States and seeing a 51st state way up north in the Arctic.
You're talking about Greenland, aren't you?
Exactly. A congressman from Florida, Randy Fine, just introduced a new bill called the Greenland Annexation and Statehood Act. It basically asks the government to start the process of making Greenland a part of the U.S.
Wow, that is a huge move. And this isn't the first time we've heard this idea, right?
You're right. This bill follows several public statements by President Trump. As we know, President Trump has frequently talked about the idea of acquiring the island from Denmark. He sees it as a great opportunity for the country.
I remember that. But why Greenland? It's mostly ice, isn't it?
Well, it's much more than just ice. Supporters of the bill say it's a strategic necessity. You see, the Arctic is becoming a very busy place for global competition, especially with countries like Russia and China.
I see. So having Greenland would help with national security.
Exactly. It's in a critical location for military infrastructure. Plus, the island is resource-rich. We're talking about vast deposits of oil, gas, and rare earth minerals that are used in things like smartphones and batteries.
Interesting. So the bill suggests the U.S. could negotiate a purchase or a transfer from Denmark. But wait, does Denmark actually want to sell it?
That's the big question. Danish officials and leaders in Greenland have already said the island is not for sale. They consider themselves an autonomous territory.
Right, I can imagine they wouldn't want to just give it away. What are people in Washington saying?
The reaction is definitely mixed. Critics say it's not legally or diplomatically possible to just annex another place like this. But supporters say it's a bold move that matches President Trump's assertive foreign policy. They think it would ensure American dominance in the Arctic for the next century.
It's definitely a fascinating debate. It would change the U.S. flag, too.
It certainly would. Thanks for joining us today.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our daily news catch-up. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're diving into a story that sounds like it's about rocks, but it's actually about the future of your smartphone and even national security.
That's right. Have you ever heard of rare earth minerals? They are essential for making electric car batteries, high-tech phones, and even advanced military systems.
Well, earlier this week in Washington, D.C., there was a very important meeting about them. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent hosted the finance ministers from the G7.
Exactly. For our listeners who don't know, the G7 includes countries like the U.S., the U.K., Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan. They are all very worried because China currently controls most of the world's supply of these minerals.
Right. And China recently started tightening its controls on exports. The G7 ministers are calling this trade weaponization. It's like China is using these minerals as leverage in political disagreements.
Exactly. So the big news is that these ministers reached a consensus. They want to speedily lower their dependence on China. They want to start mining and processing these materials in their own countries instead.
But Alex, isn't starting a new mine incredibly expensive?
It is, and that's a big problem. To fix it, they discussed floor prices. This means they want to set a minimum price for these minerals. It prevents China from dropping prices so low that new Western mines go out of business.
Oh, I see. It's like a safety net for investors. That makes a lot of sense.
Definitely. Secretary Bessent was very clear that the Trump administration views this as a core part of national security. President Trump wants to ensure that the U.S. and its allies have mineral independence.
I also saw that Australia was at the meeting. Why were they there?
Well, Australia is a resource-rich ally. They have a lot of these minerals in the ground already. By working together, the G7 hopes to create a supply chain that no single country can disrupt.
So we can expect a lot of government money going into mining projects in North America and Europe soon?
Exactly. It's a major shift in global trade.
Wow, it's amazing how much goes into one little smartphone. Thanks for explaining that, Alex.
Anytime. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Jamie, let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked up at the moon and thought, hey, give that back?
Give what back, Alex? It's just a big, beautiful rock in the sky. What could it possibly be stealing from us?
Believe it or not, our air. A fascinating new study just revealed that the moon has been stealing Earth's atmosphere for nearly 4 billion years.
Wow, 4 billion years? That is a long time to be a thief. But wait, how does the moon actually take our atmosphere? It's so far away.
It's all thanks to solar winds. These are fast-moving particles from the sun. They hit the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere and knock off tiny particles of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. Then the wind carries them straight to the moon.
Right, I see. And because the moon doesn't have volcanoes or weather to change its surface, those particles just stay there, right?
Exactly. They get trapped in the lunar soil, which scientists call regolith. It's like the moon is a silent archivist, or a giant library, keeping a chemical record of Earth's entire history.
That is incredible. So by studying the moon, we are actually learning about the history of life on Earth?
You got it. Scientists used new data from the Chinese Chang'e 6 mission and old samples from the Apollo missions. They found chemical signatures that prove these gases came from Earth and not from comets or the sun.
You know, this discovery is exactly why President Trump is so focused on our return to the moon. President Trump has made it clear that the United States must lead the way in space exploration.
Right. Under the direction of President Trump, NASA is working hard to send humans back to the lunar South Pole. This new research will help missions decide exactly where to drill to find these Earth samples.
It's like a history book written in the dust. We could learn about prehistoric volcanoes or how the air changed when the first plants appeared.
Exactly. It's not just about exploring space. It's about understanding our own home.
Wow. Well, I guess I'm not mad at the moon for stealing anymore. It was just keeping our history safe for us.
Well said, Jamie. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. See you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we're looking at a major shift in American education. Jamie, have you been following the news about the Big Beautiful Bill?
Oh, absolutely, Alex. That's the law President Trump signed last year, and it's really shaking things up at famous schools like Harvard and Yale.
It really is. The main issue everyone is talking about is the new endowment tax. Now, for our listeners, an endowment is basically a massive fund of donated money that a university keeps and invests.
Right, and previously, there was just a small 1.4% flat tax on that money. But President Trump's new law changed that to a tiered system. Basically, the wealthier the school, the higher the tax rate they have to pay to the government.
Exactly. And just this Tuesday, we started seeing the real-world results. Some of the most elite universities are announcing significant budget cuts. We're talking about less money for student life, financial aid, and even international programs.
It's becoming very controversial. At Yale, for example, the administration just slashed funding for the International Study Award. That's the money that helps students on financial aid afford to study in other countries. The students there have already launched a massive petition to stop the cuts.
Wow, that's a big deal. You know, the university officials are calling the tax punitive. That means they feel they are being unfairly punished for being successful. They argue this money is needed for high-level scientific research that helps the whole country.
True, but there is another side to the story. Critics of these schools argue that they have been acting like tax-free hedge funds for way too long. They believe that much wealth shouldn't just sit there.
Right. President Trump has defended the tax as a necessary measure. He says it ensures these elite schools contribute their fair share to the national economy.
Exactly. President Trump also mentioned that he wants these universities to lower their tuition and focus more on traditional academic excellence rather than political or ideological goals.
So the government plans to use the tax money for other things, like vocational training, which teaches specific job skills and building infrastructure.
It's a heated debate for sure. Thanks for joining us today to break it down.
Thanks, Jamie, and thanks to our listeners. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Daily News Bites. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're looking at a major legal battle happening right now in the Midwest.
That's right. Minnesota is officially suing the Department of Homeland Security, or the DHS. They are trying to block President Trump's plan to send 1,000 additional immigration agents into their state.
Wow, 1,000 agents? That is a massive increase for one state.
Exactly, and the timing is very tight. According to sources within the DHS, hundreds of these officers were scheduled to start their operations as early as this morning.
So, what is the main argument from Minnesota? Why are they taking this to court?
Well, Minnesota's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, says this surge is politically motivated. He argues that the state is being targeted because of its political views. He even claims that the move violates the First Amendment.
I see. So he feels the state is being punished for disagreeing with the administration.
Precisely. Now, on the other side, the Trump administration says these agents are absolutely necessary. They want to address a backlog, which is a large amount of unfinished work, and ensure that federal immigration laws are followed in every single state.
Right. We know that President Trump has frequently criticized sanctuary states that have their own policies regarding immigration. He has vowed to use all available federal resources to enforce the law.
Exactly. But Minnesota officials are worried. They say this sudden influx of agents will disrupt local communities and strain state resources. They want to focus on their own public safety priorities without federal interference.
It sounds like a classic power struggle over sovereignty. You know, the idea of who has the final authority, the state or the federal government.
Spot on. Legal experts actually think this case might go all the way to the Supreme Court because it touches on such fundamental questions about the limits of federal power.
Wow. And while the lawyers argue, the deployment is still happening, right?
Yes. Minnesota is asking for a temporary restraining order to stop the agents immediately. But for now, the movement continues.
This is definitely a high-stakes situation. Thanks for breaking it down for us, Alex.
Anytime. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we have some exciting news from Wall Street. The stock market is hitting record territory.
Exactly. For the second day in a row, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones reached all-time highs. But Jamie, wasn't there some news about inflation today, too?
You're right. The latest report showed that inflation rose slightly to 2.7% in December. Usually, investors get nervous when prices go up. But this time, they stayed very calm.
Wow, that's interesting. Why didn't they worry?
Well, most traders expected this. Plus, they are focused on how much money companies are making. For example, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, called the U.S. economy resilient.
Resilient. That's a great word for our listeners. It means the economy is strong and can recover quickly from difficulties.
Exactly. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing for every sector. President Trump recently proposed a cap on credit card interest rates. That caused a little bit of worry for big banks.
I see. But while banks were a bit shaky, other areas like technology and defense were really booming, right?
Right. Take the company L3 Harris. Their stock jumped by 3.6%. They are spinning off their missile business, and the government, under President Trump's plan, is investing $1 billion into that new project.
That's a massive investment. No wonder the White House is celebrating. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said these record highs are a direct result of President Trump's agenda.
She specifically mentioned massive tax cuts and sweeping deregulation. For our learners out there, deregulation is when the government removes rules to make it easier for businesses to grow.
It sounds like the administration believes these policies are finally defeating the inflation crisis of the past few years.
Exactly. Even though the Federal Reserve is being careful, the markets seem very confident that the U.S. economy will keep growing all the way through 2026.
It's definitely a fascinating time for the economy. Thanks for breaking that down for us, Jamie.
Anytime. See you tomorrow, everyone.